Good morning, and thank you all for being here. Let me begin by saying something loud and clear. We are outside. We are in the neighborhoods. We are in the schools. We are walking the blocks where violence is happening. We are standing with the families who are hurting, and we are showing up. This is not a program. This is a promise to the people of Harrisburg. And when you make a promise to your community, you show up. Every day, no matter what's being said, no matter who's watching, you show up. And that's what we've been doing. We've been outside and we've been showing up. Now I'm gonna give it over to Angelo.
First, I want to say great morning. Thanks for everyone for coming. Thank you for Ms. Vasquez for starting us off. And I want to continue to talk about the GVI, what we're doing, and some of the misinformation that's being shared out there in the community about our efforts and our impact in the community. Let me first just say, as Ms. Vasquez said, GVI is just not a program. And I'm going to try to keep it to the notes because I'm very passionate about what I do. So if I look down, it's because I'm trying to stick to the script because I can really be here all day and we don't have that kind of time because this is very special, near and dear to me and everything I've done in my career. But like I was saying, this is not just a program for us. This is a promise to the people of Harrisburg. And when you make a promise to the community, like Ms. Vasquez says, you show up. Every day, no matter what's going on, we show up because I am committed to serving, not to just being seen. And there's a difference. I wanted to address some of the misinformation that's out there. There has been about the statements being made in question about the integrity, the purpose, and the effectiveness of the GVI and of the initiative. Let me be real with you. These statements are uninformed, disrespectful, and dangerous. To dismiss the work that we have done with every person and to help them step away from a life of crime into a life of productivity is very disrespectful. To dismiss every mother that we stood beside after a loss of life. To dismiss every individual who we walk with to make the right path and to walk in a life of change. Here's what GVI actually does. We hold school assemblies, and we reach them before the streets do. We had school assemblies with 5 schools at the beginning of the school year. We just completed setting up school assemblies for every school for the end of the school year to get them prepared for the onslaught of the summer with all the free time and the increase of potential violence of any kind, and to get them to think positive about their constructive and free time this summer. That's what we're doing. We've also are talking with youth that are at risk, offering support and not judgment. We visit directly and indirectly with impacted families because healing just doesn't stop with the victim. We engage with validated group members and gang members face to face and offer them a way out. And we say it firmly and clearly and without judgment. The violence must stop, and we're here to help make it stop. Another thing that we do that gets overlooked, once a month we go to Dauphin County Prison and we talk about reentry. No one talks about that. No one sees it. We don't publicize it. And I talk about to those young men, and Ms. Vasquez is going to be talking to the women about GVI, so upon their release, they know that we're here and that we have support systems and resources for them readily available once the day they are immediately released. And they share our contact information and our resources via internet and the computer, so they have it. Once again, not being shared. This is not policing from afar. This is community-centered, boots-on-the-ground intervention. We help people access jobs, housing, mental health services, and educational opportunities. We connect the dots so that individuals can leave the life behind of crime and start something better. And we follow up again and again. Let's not forget what this is really about. GVI is a national model, not a local, not a regional model, a national model because it works. It's not just about enforcement, but with outreach, moral messaging, and wraparound support, and community support and engagement, which we are slowly building that trust and pathways with them. It works because we believe that people can change, and we're willing to walk with them every step of the way. I am proud of the work we do. Between the both of us, we have committed our entire professional careers working in our community, working with underserved, maligned, and individualized, marginalized students of color, young boys and girls. So our commitment to our community is evident in the work we've done collectively between 35 and 40 years. This is not a glamorous position. Let's just say that. This is not something you get into because it's not about money. It's something you do if you have a calling or a purpose for it only. Because we know there's going to be situations like this where we have to call a press conference like this because people question what we do. Because it's not easy and it's not always visible. This is something that you have to be purposeful and be called to do because it's hard work. And you know that the work is long-term, not short-term. And you got to be willing to go through the bumps and bruises that we're going through now because you see the greater vision. Vision is not things that are seen, but things that you know can be attained. Let me finish by saying this. You don't end gun violence with finger pointing. You don't end it from behind the podium. You end it by showing up, listening, and leading with purpose, like I mentioned earlier. GVI is not a theory, it's a movement. And we are here, and we are committed, and we are not going anywhere. The final thing I want to say is the most hurtful thing is the statement that's being repeated in the term that's being used as the spike in crime. Based off the statistics that you can find by the PA Uniform Crime Report System, and I went back and calculated the stats for over the 10 years. The average statistic is about 15.5 homicides a year. So let's not be targeted and threatened by the lies out there. If you want to know the truth, you go to the truth tellers. If you want to know the truth, you go to the truth doers. Don't be misinformed by people who have different and hidden agendas for personal motives. Go to the people who actually do the work. Thank you, God bless you, and have a great day. Any questions?
So we were actually out in Harrisburg a couple of weeks ago after Omari Wilson's death, and we were trying to speak with people who were out there, and a lot of them expressed a sense of hopelessness and didn't even want to talk with me. They were saying that nothing has been done for these kids for programs after school, that these kids have just free time, and they end up resorting to violence, and there was just a lot of hopelessness in that community that I saw that day. What kind of reassurance can you give those people right now? So again, and that's a very good question. What the GVI's main purpose is to offer resources, okay? And resources, we've identified gaps where most people in this life of crime, because again, we cater to gangs and groups and gun violence. We do not target
We do not have programming for every single situation for everyone. There are different again, this is where other people are getting off the hook. There are also different communities, engagement resources that are there. That these are questions they should have been answering. They've been in effect for some of them double-digit years. GVI, we're about 14, 15 months in. So again, we're addressing them as best we can. But like I said earlier, this is a community effort. GVI is not intended to solve all the city's crime by itself. I think we all know that's very unreasonable and unfair.
Are some of the criticisms of the that you mentioned, or some of the misinformation that you're trying to dispel, is some of that coming from the campaign trail with the mayoral's primary race coming up here in a couple of weeks?
I believe it is so. Some platforms are strictly just talking about, I guess everyone, when you run, you pick a platform. And some individuals have chose to use gun violence. I don't think that was very smart because, again, we're here to tell you the truth. But yes, I think a lot of this is politically motivated and gained, and we're kind of caught in the crossfires. Some of those individuals were once proponents of the GVI. Now, some of those same people are now throwing us under the bus.
Very well, and say who?
That is not up for me to say. I think those individuals know who they are. I'm not going to call out anyone by name. My job is to support and make sure that GVI is protected in the proper light.
Were these comments coming from the debate that was had the other week?
They've been coming all over. The debate was one of those forums, social media, any kind of social platform. Because again, people are trying to gain a political edge, and it's not fair to the mayor to talk about the GVI in a disparaging light when the mayor took a risk and brought us in, myself and Ms. Vasquez. Because what I haven't said a lot right now is that Ms. Vasquez speaks to that Hispanic community. Another thing we don't talk about is the large growing Hispanic population in the city. So we brought her on, the mayor brought her on to make sure that we're not only just targeting the African American community, but the Hispanic community as well. So we make sure we're serving as many people as we can. There's other cities who have the GVI initiative, and I'll be honest with you, if you know any other cities, or whether it's York or somewhere else, they have between 5 to 7 people. We're an army of 2. So again, people are purposely being misled. Now again, I would love to think that us 2 people can rid all of Harrisburg crime. That means I would be Time Magazine's Man and Woman of the Year, and I would gladly take that honor, because that's how great of an accomplishment that would be.
And you mentioned that you're an army of 2, and you point to other cities with similar GVI initiatives. I mean, talk about the challenge that just an army of 2 has just to try to tackle an issue as complex as gun violence in the city of Harrisburg.
Well, that's a very good question. A lot of people have told us since we've been doing the work that the GVI initiative, a lot of people who've been working in the city have seen many initiatives come across the city and or their desk, and GVI is by far the biggest one. So whenever you have any initiative that's considered one of the biggest one in your city, obviously it can't be ran by 2 individuals, regardless of what the topic is. I think that's safe to say, right? So again, we have to grow. The term GVI, until we came out, was foreign to a lot of our citizens. They've never heard of it. So we had to earn their trust, right? So we all heard the saying, trust is gained in what? Ounces. So we're gaining ounces each day when we go in there, when we go into the schools. So the people in the school district know us. When we go knock on doors every week, they know us. But it's going to take time to change the mindset and to get the narrative out there.
And in that instance, though, you mentioned about North in particular having a group of 7. Are you essentially asking, what you're essentially saying here is that we may need more personnel, more support to try to spread the message more and to try to get more results from this program?
Right now, we are just a group of 2, but we rely on small business owners for assistance. We rely on strong community leaders' voices, and we also rely on faith-based organizations to go out and walk with us. So it's just 2 of us now, but in reality, in the city, it's all of us working unified together to assist in fighting and lowering the violence in the city with our youth.
And how has the mayor assessed the work that you guys have done so far? I mean, obviously this program is still very much new. How is the mayor assessing the performance right now with this organization?
Well, there's, again, we're working under grants. So under the grants, everything is tracked. There's a lot of data and tracking data. So you assess our movement by the tracking of the data. So again, the thing that's not being out there. So whenever you're working under grants, everything has to be inputted. There's data. Even this meeting will be documented. So that's how the assessment is. You track the data, you track the visits, the phone calls, the monitoring. Everything gets put into a tracking device, so we see the input that we're making. And once again, very good question. And I'm glad these questions are being answered because people don't see the administrative side of this. They just don't get, when you have something as big as this, there's an undertaking that we have to do in this building that obviously takes up time before we can get to going out in the streets. Because we have to track this data in order to meet the grant specifications to continue to get the grant funding. Once again, these individuals out there know that, but they're purposely and neglecting, not telling that side of the story. They're saying, hey, they're not out there. They want us out there 24/7. You know, they're not doing this and they're doing. And again, these same individuals know the administrative side. You know, the creating of committees, memorandums. Again, learning new systems. We're implementing different systems here in the police department. So there's a lot that goes on before we even get outside that they know that they're purposely not telling you.
So Zaire Warren, who is 19 years old, was a high school student, was killed last week. Have you guys, you mentioned that you go to the Harrisburg School District and you talk with them occasionally. Have you guys gone back to the Harrisburg School District since that incident? How have you two individually, I know again it's just you two, but since that incident, how have you guys responded to that?
So to answer your question, we have not, we were not going back to the high school. The high school, the school district itself has a whole grieving process when they lose a student. But what we are doing, again, a great question is, it's called a one-stop. So whenever there's a loss of life, we go out in that community. The time frame is usually between 1 and 3 weeks. Again, what Ms. Vasquez was saying with the clergy, and we go out and we knock on doors. We let them know that they're not alone. We pray for people who weren't praying. We, again, offer them resources and show our support. That's what we do. That's part of the initiative. But when a student loses their loss of life, we do not run directly to the school because the school has, grounds the way they handle it. So again, we don't step on anyone else's toes. We're community driven. But again, great question. Very good question.
And how often do you all go out into the community?
Very good question. Right now, between once and twice a week, we try to go on Thursdays and Fridays. The language is called a custom notification. So once someone is identified to us, and they can be identified through several means. Again, we were out yesterday. So we usually try to get out at least once or twice a week, especially now since the addition of Ms. Vasquez. And she's doing some other resource finding and, again, some administrative piece allows me to go out with some of our credible messengers, which are some of our CSAs and other people. We have taken the credible messenger training. It's called a custom notification. Anyone who's been identified within a biweekly period, we go out, knock on doors, put ourselves in harm's way, and again, take that time to speak to them and offer them the resources. I just don't give them, like we said, we hold hands. We have a resource list. I go through every individual resource in that home. I do not leave that home if they have any questions. Sometimes a visit could be 35 minutes. Sometimes a visit could be an hour and a half. We don't leave until we make sure they're comfortable or we answered all their questions. So again, this is about quality, not quantity. My grandmom used to always say, you can't have it both ways. So we can do the right work, we can do the work right, or we can do the work fast. And if we do it fast, then people are complaining because we're not taking the time to do it right. So I guess I'm going to be danged if I do, not if I don't. And that means doing it right and taking my time.
Also, how many groups have you identified as far as Harrisburg groups of violent people causing, all of these problems? How many have been identified?
I don't have, nor I don't think I'm able to give that exact number for police reasons, but there are multiple gangs and groups out there. I can say this, they continue to morph. 1 week, certain individuals may be in one gang or group, then they may break up and start another one. There's some pros and some cons to that. I think the pros of it is, unlike these major cities where these gangs are so entrenched and they got 20, 30, if not 50 years in there, that they don't last long. So I think there's an advantage to that. So when we go into the homes, we can talk to them because they're really not ingratiated in them. So that works to our advantage.
And when you say they don't last long, is that what, months, weeks?
Again, I'm not at liberty to answer that. Yeah. They vary. They vary.
And again, you mentioned, I think you mentioned it, but how many credible messengers are you both working with? Because you mentioned local churches, schools, school district, the Harrisburg School District.
So a credible messenger, we had a credible messenger training. I believe there was a total of 12 to 13 individuals in there, including, again, some people of uniform that were police officers and or CSAs, and then other people who wanted to come back to become certified credible messengers. So depending on whom we're going to see, and again, their credible messengers work schedule, because again, most of these people work. They're not sitting around waiting for us to call them. So depending on everyone's availability, accessibility, and again, we're going out during the day, during work hours. So we know we have constantly the two credible messengers consistently, which is CSA Brooks and CSA Coleman, which is a male and a female, and again, myself, and then Ms. Vasquez going at all times. And again, depending on the person and how, I want to say, and how much we think they need a credible messenger, because we not only go see victims, we go see the offenders. And some of them we know are going to be harder to reach, so we say, hey, we might want to take this person because they're going to need some convincing that I can't give them. See, because a credible messenger was someone who used to be in the life. I've never been in the life. I'm from the city. I told you I dedicated my whole professional life to working with children in the city, but there's still an element I can't speak to them about. I've never been incarcerated. I've never shot at someone. I've never been shot at. These credible messengers bring those stories and those life experiences to these homes. So just in case I'm not winning them over, the credible messengers say, hey, I've been there, I've done that. One of the couple of the most impactful things I had, and I'll be honest, and I'll just share this with her, about 2 weeks ago. Heard some of the gossip. I was not having a good day just because, just all the misinformation out there. My phone rings. And I'm not going to say the man's name, but this guy was a drug dealer who was a big-time drug dealer in the 90s, early 2000s. He's since turned his life around. He said, hey, I tracked your brother down, got your phone number. I just wanted to say, I seen you on the news. Because again, when we go out to the schools, 27 News represents us. when we do the one stops, again, 27 represents us. So again, people in the community see us out there. The right people see us. You know, it's human nature. You see what you want to see. You don't see what you don't want to see. And he said, I just want to let you know you're doing good work. And if you ever need me, even though he didn't know the language, he said to come talk to these kids. He said, trust me, they may not know me, but their parents do. And that, the doubt that I had and all the stress I had before then, it really immediately went away. If this guy found my number to call me, then I know I'm doing something right. So I'm not going to let these individuals who are trying to get political gain to try to destroy what I know we're doing. And I've still been on, you know, an internal high. It's like, wow, I can't believe this guy called me.
Four messengers in total.
I'm sorry?
So there's 4 messengers in total. You mentioned you two.
No, we trained about 13, I said.
Okay, sorry, 13.
Yep. No, I'm glad for follow-up. Anyone else? Well, thank you for your time. I just want to let it know for the record, there are no more questions. I don't want anyone to say, well, they cut the interview short, they ran out, they have more questions for them. And thank you for your time. All great questions. And that's some of the questions that the community has. And I hope I answered them to your satisfaction.